Welcome to the Brass and Woodwind Shop. One of the very common problems on brass instrument is stuck valve tuning slides. This is a very simple repair that most people can do without causing any damage to the instrument, but there are a few precautions. Something you'll need to do this is some wicking, and use this for old kerosene lamps, you know, the antique ones. You can probably also use rope too, but this is nice because it's thin on one side and thicker on the other, so there's a lot of strength, but you can also get into small places with it. You take about maybe a 2.5 foot section of this, and then you just put it right through the slide that is stuck like that, and then match up the ends. Then you're ready to go. Then you just chuck this into the vise like that. Then to get it unstuck, you just give it a little pull. But before you do that, you need to be careful to hold it the right way. You want to hold on to the valve section and have a pretty good grip on it. And also, you need to be careful that this is straight. That if you try to pull it at an angle like that, it can bend the slides and push them into the casing, and then you have a valve problem, and you don't want that. So be sure it's in a straight line, and it's especially important on the second slides because usually you have to hold the trumpet at an angle. Also, it's a good idea, since this slide can go flying out, just put a rag right there. If it goes flying, it'll hit the rag, and it won't dent it up worse than it is. I'm going to firmly hold the valve section with one hand. The other hand, I'm going to hold on to this to catch the slide if it comes out. Here we go. Ready? Still didn't come out. Sometimes it takes a few tries. You usually don't want it to come out the first try because that means you're pulling a little too hard. So just do it again a little harder. We can still pull a little bit harder, but much more than that we can start causing damage. So I'm going to give it another good pull and see what can happen. Since this didn't come out, we'll have to take it to the next step, and I'll show you what that is. Since the slide did not come out with normal means, I'm going to use a ground casing mandrel. And I'm going to take the valve out, and this is a ground casing mandrel. It's cylindrical, and it's the same size as the inside of the casing, which in this case is 682 thousandths of an inch, and different trumpets are different sizes. So put that in there. And what this does is it keeps the casing from getting warped when you put a lot of tension on a valve slide. If you want to learn more about ground casing mandrels, look for the link in the description below. Now I clamp this back in the vise and we'll give it another try. Now that the casing's been reinforced with a steel mandrel, I can pull a little harder. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I'm going to use two hands. Here we go. That one's on there pretty good. Oh, came out of the vise. Okay, we'll try it again. Now I broke the wick, so we're going to try something else. Usually they don't come out that hard, but this one's pretty hard, so I'm going to put some penetrating oil on that. And apply a little heat, get the penetrating oil into the slide a little bit. Usually penetrating oil by itself does not get a slide to get unstuck, but it does help a little bit, and sometimes it just gives you what it needs. Now I'm going to use some leverage to pry that apart. You just put some drumsticks in there, and usually I use drumsticks, and then I grind it down so that it can fit in between the slide. This one is very narrow there, so I'm going to have to use screwdrivers instead. Because I'm using metal, I'm going to protect it with some of that wicking that I was using to get the slide out. I'm just going to do that. And I usually don't like to use metal, but sometimes you need to. When you're using leverage, you need to be very careful. You do not want to block it against the valve casing, or you make a mess out of that. You want something solid. In this case, we have a brace here, and then we have the slide crook here. So let's see, put that in there, and then between that I'm going to put a drumstick. And just take that and squeeze it a little bit. Okay, here we go. I'm going to squeeze that. Well, this is a tough one. Usually they're not this tough. There, now it's starting to move. There, it's coming a little bit. Now I need something a little larger diameter because the gap is getting wider. There we go. I always try pulling it out with a rope first. If that fails, then you can use the leverage. You have to be very careful though, because you can damage things. So pay close attention and watch. If you're doing any damage, you stop. If you might be doing damage, you stop. And if you're not comfortable with the repair, don't do it. Just take it to your repair shop and let them do it for you. These methods also work on stuck baritone valve slides, so you can use it with them too. You have to adjust a little bit for the size and the bulkiness of the instrument. You don't want to hold the bell or right here. Make sure that you hold the valve section and the valve slide you're pulling out. And also you need to be careful because the bracing's not usually quite as good on the baritones. So you want to use not nearly as much force before you start doing other things on the baritone. Also on baritones you need to be a lot quicker to unsolder the slides and get them out that way. And if you want to watch that video, the link is in the description below.